So basically, probability, percentages, and fractions, the three of them have one rule, which is the wanted over the total. It's not just a rule, it mainly explains what they are. So the fraction is mainly a part over the total. That's why it's wanted over total. The literal translation or definition of a fraction is that it's a part of something that's bigger. The probability of something is considered wanted over the total. So if I'm talking that I do have, let's say, red, green, and blue, and I have 3 red, 4 green, and 6 blue, and then you're asked for the probability of selecting a red ball at random. In this case, the wanted is red, so that's 3 over the total, which is all 3 of them, including the red. So a total of 13. So the probability of red is 3 over 13. If I asked for what fraction does the red represent in this bag, it would still be the exact same thing, 3 over 13, the wanted over the total. If I asked for the percentage of red in this bag, it would also be the same thing, 3 over 13. The only difference is that in the percentage, we then multiply by 100. So probability, percentage, and fractions, they're exactly the same rule. If I ask for the probability of red, fraction of red, or percentage of red, they're the same thing. The only difference, again, is that in the percentage, we multiply by 100 after we calculate the wanted over the total. So what you've seen here is the first and simplest example of the probability and the fractions and the percentages, where you're given 3 different categories and you're asked what's the probability to find one of them. There could also be another type of question where it's a table and you could be given the information in a different manner this way. And these tables, or this table, consists of mainly, let's say, 3 groups. Let's say we have elementary school, and then middle, and then high school. So there are 3 categories, okay? We do have boys, we do have girls as well. And then the data that's given in the table, each number would represent 2 things at the same time. Or it would be a combination of 2 things at the same time. So let's say, for example, we have here 20, and then 15, and then 26. Let's say we have 25, and 14, and 21. So that means there are 20 boy in elementary, and 25 girl in elementary, and there are 14 girls in middle school. There are 26 boys in high school, and so on. Let's say the question asked something like this. Out of the middle school, what is the probability of selecting a boy at random? So we're now talking out of not just the whole school, we're talking out of the middle school only. So the wanted and the total should only be representing the middle school. Exactly. So when we say probability of a boy at random, but we're talking from middle school, then the wanted is the boys in middle school, which are 15, over the total of the middle school, which are 15 plus 14. So the probability of selecting a boy from middle school, that's 15 over 29. The tricks are always in the total. So that's why here I needed to be clear about it's out of middle school. It's out of what? That's what matters, because the total is everything. Out of the middle school, therefore the total is only middle school. And when we say out of the middle school, a boy, so we're selecting only the boys in middle school over the total of middle school. They can also ask you for something like the percentage of girls in high school. So what is the percentage of girls in high school? In this case, the wanted is the number of girls in high school, which are 21, over the total, which are the total number of students in high school. So that would be 21 over 47, and then multiply this by 100. That's how you turn it to a percentage. Does this make sense or لا? Yes. We're all good so far. في أي حد عنده questions أو حاجة؟ Good. طيب. Moving on from this type of question, there's another type of question where we're talking about. معلش, give me 1 second. I need to take a quick look at questions تاني. Okay. And before saying that, I want to remember, عايز أقول لكم هنا على type معين. So if I said in the table above, if I said which school has the highest percentage of boys, that's a very important question, okay? So which school has the highest percentage of boys? You see, because we said which school, then we need to check each school separately. So when we're thinking of calculating the percentages, we calculate the percentage of the boys in each school separately. Yani we go for the elementary school and we calculate the percentage of boys. So that would be 20 over 45. Then we'd go for the middle school and we calculate the percentage of boys, 15 over 14. Then the probability. Then we go for the high school and we do 26 over 21. Sorry, over 26 over 47. That would be the percentage of boys in high school. So we get the percentage out of the 3 schools, and then we decide which school has the highest percentage. Of course, in this case, it's clear by looking at it which percentage is the biggest, because there are only boys and girls, so you can figure it out. But if there are more than boys and girls, there are 7 or 8 rows, you just need to focus that you need to find the probability of the percentage of each of if the boys, but in each column separately. So the total is the sum of the column. Does this make sense ولا لا? So that's the percentage of boys in elementary. In high school, sorry, in middle school, 15 over 29. And in high school, it's 26 over 47. In each of those, we should get them and multiply them by 100, and then accordingly select which of them is the biggest. Are we all good? Moving on, بعد كده, the idea of percentage increase and percentage decrease. So you could be asked in any question whatsoever, like what's the percentage increase from the year 1997 to the year 2005? And you have a table that has all the values of those years. So let's say 1997 you had 2378, and then you now have 7649. And I want to find the percentage increase from 1997 to 2005. In this case, the percentage increase, since it's a percentage, then the wanted is the increase. So in order to find the increase, you just need to subtract them from each other. This is how I find the increase between two things. So I just need to do 7649 minus 2378. That's how I find the difference, the increase that happened. That's the wanted. Now over the total. What's the total? Because I'm talking about the increase, then the total is الرقم اللي أنا زودت عليه. يعني the total in this case is the 2378, the smaller number. while لو أنا بتكلم على percentage decrease, so if it's the same exact question, but then instead of I needed the percentage increase from 1997 to 2005, I need the other way around. I need the decrease that happened from 2005 to 1997. In this case, the wanted is the decrease, and the decrease is the same, 7649 minus 2378. The only difference is that when we put the total now, the total is what we decreased from. Yani the total is the bigger number. We then, of course, multiply by 100, and we multiply by 100 to transfer it to a percent. So what's the trick that will summary of what we need to focus on is لو أنا محتاج أطلع percentage increase لازم أعمل over اللي زودت عليه الصغير. لو بطلع percentage decrease بعمل over اللي نقصت منه الكبير. Does this make sense to everyone? Awesome. طيب. Finally آخر حاجة عايز أقول عليهم is the percentages when something is increased by a specific percent. يعني مش أنا اللي عايز أحسب ال percentage increase. لا, they told me that a number whatsoever is increased by 20%, let's say. So when a number is increased by 20%, there is more than one way you can find this number with. So you can assume the following. You can say whatever the number is, right now it represents 100%. So this is the number and these are the percentages. If I decided to increase by 20%, then this new number would be considered 120%. So when you put the 120% under the 100%, you can cross multiply to find what would be the value of that number after the increase. Or you can say 1.2 multiplied by x, which is the same exact thing as 120% multiplied by x. So understand this, that any number أو أي حاجة في الدنيا when it exists, it's 100%, it's complete. Now, if I increased it by 10%, it became 110% of the same number. So the percentage must be out of something. If I said a specific مثلا bank account or a company, the value of the company increased by 10%. Then now I can multiply the value of that company by 1.1, which is 110%. Does this part make sense or لا? Not so much? لا, nothing. X should be a number يعني. It's either X should be a number that you can calculate أو ممكن by the way it could not be a number. إيه يا حبيبي؟ اسأل. أنا عارف, اسأل. يعني اسأل إيه ده؟ إيه ده؟ إيه ده؟ إيه اللي أنت فاهم؟ إيه ده؟ لا. مش فاهم والله. عندك أي رقم في الدنيا لو أنا عايز أزوده by specific percentage, okay? So let's give a better example, like 50. If I need to increase the 50 by 10%, what would be the new number? So the 50 right now is considered 100%. When you increase it to become 110%, what would be the new number after you increase it by 10%? You cross multiply and you can say 50 multiplied by 110 over 100. This is one way to get the new number after the percentage. Or you can just say 1.1 times 50, because 110% times 50 is exactly the same as 1.1 times 50. صح ولا مش قوي؟ عشان الاثنين بيتعملوا لما بتعمل ده divide by 100 it becomes 1.1. فاهم؟ متأكد؟
ايوه متأكد.
أنا مش واثق فيك أنا دلوقتي. أنا بهزر. يعني لا بس أنا thank you أصلا بجد ask about every single detail so thank you for asking. Anyway نفس الكلام ده بالظبط لو أنا بتكلم على decreased. فمثلا لو أنا عندي رقم let's say 230 I want to decrease it by 30%. Right now the 230 is considered 100%. When I decrease it by 30 it becomes 70%. And I need to know what's the value of this. I can do that by putting 230 multiplied by 70 and then divided by 100. Or I can do that by just putting 230 multiplied by 70%. Or 0.7 multiplied by 230. They're all the same thing. Does this make sense to everyone ولا لا؟ يا علي are you good؟ sorry كنت بتقولي are you good ولا ايه عشان ما سمعتش لما كنت بتتكلمي. طيب. Let's see questions على طول. Now the questions that you're about to see as I told you are a bit harder. محمد ومحمد انتوا حليتوا ده قبل كده بس السكور في واحد منهم ما كانش حلو actually. فهوبفلي ان انتوا whatsoever السكور اللي جبته قبل كده تجيبوا اكتر منه that's what matters. وبعدين هتشوف بقى الحته اللي انا عايز ازودها بتاعت الاي اس تي اللي فاتت. Now if you had please to Google Classroom on P1 probability percentages and fractions there should be 5 questions. All 5 questions either have tables or bar graphs. Check them out. Make sure to focus on the words and read it carefully. And I'll give you 8 minutes for all 5 questions. The 8 minutes start 1/6 the mistakes, okay? So it says here, the table below summarizes the results of a survey about travel destinations preferences for a group of 750 university students of 4 different majors. In which major can you find the highest percentage of students who prefer NYC? So again, they're asking in which major, which means I have to check each major separately and then find the percentage of NYC in each major, then select the highest one. So when you check the history major, the percentage of NYC would be 70 over the total 250. And then to check the IT, for example, that would be 40 over 100. And then to check the audit, it would be 30 over 125. And then the math, that would be 60 over 275. So once you calculate those, check which of those is the highest, and definitely IT would be the highest percentage. It's 40%.
لسه مش هو نفس ال NYC اللي ما خدتش ال 200 التوتال.
ما هو ده بقى كان الحته التانيه. This is a very common mistake ان انت to think ان ال total is the people in NYC. Now again I'm thinking or I'm selecting which in each major. So when you're thinking of the major of history بس I don't know and I don't care about the other people in other majors بيحصل فيهم ايه. I'm just talking about the history. في كام حد هناك prefer NYC؟ 70 over the people in history only. That's the percentage of NYC in history. But when you get the percentage of 70 over 200, that means you're getting the percentage of people who prefer in NYC who are in the history major. يعني انت كده getting the percentage of history in NYC مش NYC in history. Does that make sense? Sure?
شكرا.
العفو يا حبيبي. Because بالصدفة هنا I think it would get you the same. لا, it would not get you the same answer. خلاص. So if you do it as لو انت بتبص على الصح بتاعها ان احنا as we said in each major نعمل the wanted over the total of the major. In this case ال IT would be the biggest. But if you did the other way around, if you did in each in the major of in the city of NYC, which major has the highest or any major is the highest percentage, in this case you'll do 70 over 200, 60 over 200, and the biggest would be history. Makes sense? We're all good?
Yes.
Ali, you're good يا حبيبي? Same information. and then you ask what fraction of people who prefer Rome or Paris come from an audit or math majors. So again, we're trying to understand ايه الwanted وايه الtotal. أنا بطلب what fraction of the people who prefer Rome or Paris. So I'm only getting out of the people who prefer Rome and Paris. The total is just the people who prefer Rome and Paris. Because they said of the people who prefer Rome and Paris. So the total اللي تحت would be the total of Rome and Paris only, which is 150 plus 175. Now, مالهم بقى, what fraction of those مالهم come from audit or math majors? So I'll go for the audit and math majors only in Rome and Paris, which are these and these, and add them all up together and consider this the wanted, because فعلا this is what's wanted. So it would be 35 plus 35 plus 65 plus 10. Calculate this over that and it should get you the answer right away. Does this make sense or not?
Yes.
Are you sure? Results?
29 over 65.
So the simplest is 29 over 65. طبعا it came out as something else, but when you do put it on a calculator, it gives you the simplest form على طول, which is the C. Thank you so much. Perfect. Now, if we move to 19, it says here that this bar graph below shows the age distribution of employees in a multi-branched bank. When you look at the bar graph, you should be able to, قبل ما أقرأ السؤال, I should be able to understand a few things from the bar graph just by looking at it. And it's important you do this steps to understand what's this whole thing all about. The x-axis says ages in years, and then the y-axis says percentages. So they're already percentages. If 481 employees are aged between 30 and 40, so this is 30 and 40. What is the percentage of 30 and 40? Apparently, it's above 35 by 2 steps, which means it's almost 37%. So clearly, the 481 is representative or represents 37% of the whole thing. So what's the total number of employees? And that is considered the 100%. So I want to know what's the 100% of the employees. I'll cross multiply and get the answer. I'll do 481 multiplied by 100 and then divided by 37. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Would someone please tell me what's the answer?
It's the taking time.
Thank you. Here, in a farm, there are 30 rabbits of 2 sizes, small and big, 3 colors, white, brown, and gray, as shown in the table below. 1 rabbit is selected at random from this farm. What is the probability that the selected rabbit is white? So I'm looking for a white one. And apparently I'm selecting from the whole farm. So the wanted is the white. The white all together, not just the small or just the big, any white rabbit whatsoever. So that's a total of 14. That's the wanted. Over the total, which are all the number of rabbits in this farm, which are 30 and they're given here. You don't need to add them all up here. So 14 over 30, simplified would be 7 over 15. And that's B. Any problems there? طيب. Moving on to the next. Suppose that the selected rabbit is not from white color. So I'm excluding all the white colors. What is the probability for this rabbit to be from the big size? So I want the wanted now is the big size, which are these 2 only, because we've excluded already all the white ones. So it's 6 over the total are all of those without the white. Yani 4 plus 6 plus 2 plus 4. So that's a total of 6 over 16, which is 3 over 8, which is C then. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Awesome. Now moving to 21. yes, 21 is no. خلاص, you've stopped here, صح? This was the last one. Yep. طيب, let's head back to P2 على طول. Don't waste any time in the middle. This one بقى هتلاقوا فيها شوية no longer tables كتير, يعني الtables هنا أقل والgraphs هنا أقل. So that's why it's better. أو it's not better, it's just different type of questions. So الtables الحاجات والgraphs, this is one type and we were able to find the information منها and so on. Now there will be weight problems محتاجين نطلع منها. Another weight problem نطلع منها. Only here one graph and then the باقي are and one table here. This one is just a discussion of what will happen through a specific number of years. This one, yeah, so the whole form now is different شوية in how they're asking the questions, but it's still about probability percentages and fractions. If you go there, you should be able to find برضو 5 questions. Hopefully you'll finish those within 7 minutes. So 7 minutes for P2, starting now. In a bag, there are 12 identical tokens numbered 1 to 12. A token is drawn at random. What is the probability to obtain an even multiple of 3? So if you have tokens that are numbered 1 to 12, which means 1 to 12, yes, so there are 12 numbers mainly. You need the probability to obtain an even multiple, so the wanted is an even multiple of 3. What are the even multiples of 3 from 1 to 12? So the multiples of 3 are the answers of the timetable of 3. So they're 3, 6, 9, and 12. Those are the multiples of 3 from 1 to 12. The even multiples of 3 are the 6 and the 12. So there are only 2. Over the total, which are 12 numbers. That simplified would be 1 over 6. So the answer is D. So just the most important things to actually solve this one right is to know what's a multiple and to know what's an even number. A multiple of 3 or a multiple of any number are the timetables or the answers of the timetable. So the multiples of x are x times 2, x times 3, x times 4, x times 5, and x times 6, the multiple, and so on. The multiples of 3 are 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 3 times 3, 3 times 4, and so on. Any questions here? $35. An original price of an article is 30,000 Egyptian pounds and its discounted price is 27,600. What's the discount percent? So the wanted is the discount. In order to get the discount, I just have to subtract them from each other. So 30,000 minus 27,600. And that is a difference of 2,400. Now over what? Since this is the discount, I need to divide by the bigger one. اللي أنا نقصت منه, the one that I did the discount on. So in this case, it's the 30,000. So on a calculator, you need to do 2,400 divided by 30,000 and then multiply this by 100. That should get you the discount percent. Does this make sense or لا?
Yes.
Okay. Adam and his fiancée worked as freelance graphic designers all year long during 2019 to save money for their wedding and to buy furniture for their home. Their mixed salary each month in thousands of dollars is shown in the graph above. What is the percentage of May's income out of their total annual income? So the wanted is the percentage of May. So the wanted is May. I'll go back to the table and the graph, the bar graph, yes, or whatever it is, and get to find May. May apparently is 6, so that's May. Over the total is all of those added together. So it's 2 plus 3 plus 2 plus 8 plus 6 plus 4 plus 3 plus 1 plus 11, 9, 3, and then 6. Add all of those together. This should be the total down here. Once you do this and you multiply this by 100, you should get the answer right away. Did anyone actually calculate this?
Yes, هتبقى 6/58, which is تبقى 10.53%.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So that's D. I think this one was good. Now, number 7. A company lost 20% of their stock the first year, then 26% the second year, then increased by 30% for the third year. There's a very easy way or method to think about this one. إن أنا أجرب number. Let's say the price was 50. If I lose 20%, then I multiply the 50 now by كام? If I lose 20%, then this means I'm saving, or I'm going to keep 80%. So I should multiply 50 by 0.8. ده اللي هيتبقى معايا كام at the end of the first year. So again, where did I get the 0.8 from? It's 100 minus 20, which came out as 80%. So I switched that to make it, without the percentage sign, 0.8. Once you calculate this, this should be 40. Oh. So then the next year, 26%, it lost 26%. So now the 40 is the whole price. I should multiply the 40 دي نفسها by what? 100 minus 26 would be 74%. So this means I'm supposed to multiply 40 by 0.74. On a calculator, that's 29.6. So that's what remained the second year. Now during the third year, this 29.6 actually increased 30%. So I should now multiply it by 100 plus 30, which is equivalent to 130%. So 1.3. So 29.6 multiplied by 1.3. That got me 38.48. This is the amount at the end of the third year. Now, when you read the choices, they're comparing between the beginning and the end. At the very beginning, I started with 50. But now at the very end, I have 38.48 left. So first of all, it did not increase. It actually decreased. It decreased. So it's either B or C. It cannot be A and it cannot be D because it says in A and D that it increased. So how apparently كمان هو عايز يعرف it decreased by how much, decreased by كام percent. So in order to get the percentage decrease, I'll subtract those from each other and divide it by the 50 itself. So 50 minus 38.48 divided by 50. That's 23.04%. So apparently it decreased by 23.04%, which means that the answer is B. Does this make sense ولا مش قوي؟ Everyone, are we good ولا ايه؟ Okay. Creepy. الكونسبت بتاع اللي هو ان انا نقصت 20% so the remaining is 80%. This is the most important thing in this whole question. لما ازيد 30% it becomes 130%. لما انقص 26% يبقى it becomes 74%. الكونسبت ده بس is what needs to be done. If you understand the concept, then the question becomes extremely easy. Is there something you want me to explain here again and you want me to repeat? it says here, which of the following statements is true when comparing the annual percentage change from 2018 to 2020? So I'll go to the table and check. In 2020, this was the price, but in 2018, it was much less. So the change that happened is that it increased, definitely. So it cannot be B and it cannot be C. It's either A or D. I eliminated the incorrect answer. Now عايز أعرف الchange قد إيه. So I'll subtract them from each other. That's the change. I'll subtract 1771.9 divided by, minus 1268.93. All of this is supposed to be over اللي I changed from to the 2018. So I should be putting in the total the smaller number and then multiply this by 100. And that should give you the answer right away. Are we clear or not? It would come out as 39.64%. So it decreased by 39.64%. Yes. Are we good? جماعة بس I need to know if you can hear me حتى. Are we good ولا إيه؟
Yes.
طيب. What I'm about to show you now, the new form that I'm about to show, is a harder one. As I said, these are questions that were available in the EST test of this month. They're not, as I said, برضو, it's one of the hardest questions that we've seen. Would you like, this is completely your choice, would you like to try out the first 5 questions and then we discuss them? Or you want me to just start by explaining على طول? What would you prefer? And I'm okay with both and we have time for both. Try them out الأول.
Right.
So, head to Google Classroom. You should be, if you refresh, you should be able to find the new form now, P1 EST November 2022. So starting with the first one, you have fractions and they're divided and you have powers with negatives and so on, so this looks a bit weird. In order to simplify it, شوية is to just work on part by part and bit by bit. So I would strongly recommend that you work on the fractions inside the bracket first, and then start by checking the power outside the bracket at the end. So this thing is the last thing we look at. Now let's work on this first bracket here. Anything to the power of 2 should become positive, so I know for a fact that the answer of this is positive. Now, how do I put a fraction to the power of 2? The power of 2 gets to be distributed on both parts. So it's as if it's 1 to the power of 2 over 8 to the power of 2. 1 to the power of 2 would become 1, and 8 to the power of 2 is 64, so this is 1 over 64. That's the first bracket. Any problems here? Divided by, let's work on the second bracket. برضو the power will be distributed on both, but because it's an odd power, the negative will remain. So it will remain negative, and then 1 to the power of 3 over 4 to the power of 3. The negative will still stay. 1 power 3 is just 1, and 4 power 3 is 64 still. And this is the second bracket, and they're still divided by each other. Any problems until here as well? Now let's divide the fractions inside. I cannot really divide fractions. Instead, we multiply and we flip the second fraction. So 1 over 64 دي تفضل زي ما هي. But then we multiply, it becomes 64, negative 64 over 1. All of this is still to the power of negative 1. Any problems until here? Now, those will cross each other, and the remaining will be negative 1 in a bracket to the power of negative 1. Now, what happens with the negative power is that we flip the whole, if there's a fraction inside, we flip it. Or in other words, we may take 1 over, and we take the negative 1 with its power down. It becomes negative 1 to the power of positive 1, which then will result to negative 1. The answer is just B.
Mr. Marsh, can you repeat the last point?
Okay, and if I have anyway something x to the power of negative a, for example, this should be switched to 1 over x to the power of positive a. So I have a box or something to the power of negative 1. I'll take it down entirely, the whole thing, and make it to the power of positive 1. Does this make sense, Shoaib?
Yes.
And then negative 1 power 1 is just negative 1. 1 divided negative 1 is just negative 1 still. فاهمة؟
Yes.
Sure?
Yes.
بس. So it's a long one شوية, but you can deal with it step by step واحدة واحدة كده. Are we sure we're all good? Second one, number 2. Number 2, this is a system of equations, but it's a very weird one because the first equation has 3 variables in it, and the second one has only 2 variables. The second one is this one, 6x minus 3y equals to 13 right away. It does not include a z. What they're trying to find though is what's the value of 3z. Usually, and I can't find z خالص unless I have 3 equations and the 3 of them have z. I can't find يعني من الآخر if I have 2 variables x و y I need 2 equations والاثنين فيهم x و y. لو عندي 3 variables x y z مش هعرف اطلعهم بكام unless عندي 3 equations برضو x y z. لو ما لقيتش بقى الحاجات دي موجودة it means that there must be a trick somehow for this to be found. يعني ما دام ما عنديش 3 equations وهم 3 variables يبقى في حاجة ينفع أعملها لعبة كده أو حاجة تطلع لي الأنسر. So what's the trick here؟ عشان تعرف التريكس في الكيسز اللي زي دي try to relate between ال given وال wanted if there is some sort of a relation between them. يعني ال givens مثلا ال 2x دول وال 6x is there a relationship between them؟ ال negative y وال 3y is there a relationship between them؟ Apparently there is. I'm sorry?
They were multiplied by 3.
صح. So I can multiply this whole thing by 3 and make it now 6x minus 3y minus 3z all equals to 44 times 3. That's how to calculate this one. It's 40 times 3, which is 120, and then 4 times 3, which is 12. So that's a total of 132. Does this make sense ولا لا؟ I multiplied everything في الإيكويشن اللي فيها 2x و y by 3. Are we all good until here ولا لا؟
Yes.
طيب, what do they want? They want 3z. So when you look at those 2 equations, the new 2 equations that you have, apparently لو أنا عايز 3z, it means I need to remove the x and remove the y. مش عايز x و y في الموضوع. Apparently those 2 are exactly the same. If I subtracted كل حاجة فوق minus كل حاجة تحت, the 6x will cross the 6x. Negative 3y will cross the negative 3y. And then negative 3z will become positive 3z. And then 13 minus 132 will become negative 119. So this is the answer of 3z. 3z is equals to negative 119. It's B. Does this make sense?
بص يا انا عملتها بطريقه تانية، يعني هي منطقيه شويه بس ما اعرفش ليه ما مشيتش في الاخر.
ليه؟ قول.
هي كبيره برضه، يعني قمت مودي في اول ايكويشن خالص، قمت مودي كل حاجه هناك وسبت الزد في حته واحده.
نيجاتيف زد ولا بوزيتيف زد؟
بوزيتيف زد.
يعني هتبقى z equals اوكي هتبقى equals 2x minus y minus 44 صح؟
نيجاتيف 2x بقى بلس y.
ما هي عشان في نيجاتيف ف it will switch the signs كلها.
انا خلاص ايوه.
ماشي.
بعدين بقى قمت حاططها تاني في الزد
اللي هي 3z؟
لا الزد لوحدها.
مكان دي يعني قمت عامل 2x minus y بعدين minus وفتحت براكت 2x minus y minus 44 وكل ده equals 44. ماشي بس ما هو this is ليه دي غلط بقى عشان يا محمد عشان تبقى فاهم. لأن أنت you used نفس ال equation to substitute in itself. It will always give you nothing. الإكسز هتشيل بعض والوايز هتشيل بعض فمش هتعرف تكمل.
وانا تقريبا غلطت في الساينز اصلا،
كمان.
مشيت معايا.
طيب بس في طريقه برضه يعني اللي انت بتقوله ينفع ليه حاجه تانية، ينفع ليه فكره. So this is what I'm about to say now is a completely different way of solving this. ينفع تاخد ال 6x minus 3y هي دي اللي تاخدها على جنب equals 13. اوكي. Now انا عايز اعمل ده divide by 2 actually. So divide by 3. So divide by 3 this will become 2x minus y equals 13 over 3 صح؟ بس فممكن اشيل ال 2x minus y دي واحط مكانها 13 over 3 minus z equals 44. بعدين اودي ال z الناحيه دي وال 44 الناحيه دي فتبقى 13 over 3 minus 44 equals z. طبعا it's harder now to add ال fractions عشان كده مش بحب الطريقه دي عشان بقى fractions من غير calculator.
وكمان مش هكون ضامن كل مره ان هو يجيبها ريليتد قوي كده.
لا بس خلي بالك ما هو عشان كده بقيت اقول لك في الاول لا it must be related يعني there's no other way of solving this unless there's a relationship between them. لازم يديني بقى ساعتها 3 equations. So بما انه ما ادانيش 3 equations يبقى اكيد في relation يعني اكيد في تريك والتريك هتبقى probably ليها علاقه بان هم related somehow فاهم؟ كان في سؤال تاني مره انا حليته معاكم I think السؤال ده قريب قوي يعني انا فاكر انا my memory is ان انا حليته هنا في الكلاس. كان في سؤال على نفس الفكره او طلع في نفس الحوار كده اللي هو ما دام ما فيش x y استنى I don't think it's here though. الفكرة إن هم بقول لك نفس الحوار دايما أنت because you're not given options غير المفروض يكون عندي two equations بس ما دام أنت ما اديتنيش two equations خلاص يبقى there's no other way except إن أنت أكيد في trick that I can figure out that I can notice and figure out and solve فاهم؟ If it's not noticeable ده يعني أو لو أنت بالنسبة لك أو يعني it must be there. If you can't notice it, it's your mistake. بس you need to look harder. بس it's there. فاهم حاجة؟
تمام.
I'll find the question أنا بقول لك عليها because I liked it قوي و I wanted to focus عليها لما كنا بنحله. I'll find it somehow.
في حاجات برضو بيبقى ليها زي فاكتورايز ويكون عامل الحته الثانيه زي
اللي هي كأنها one of the factors صح؟ ايوه صح. ما هو بقى عشان كده بقول لك لا هو يعني لازم يكون في relation most of the time لازم يكون في relation طبعا. واصلا دي حاجه كمان يعني it's one of the skills that I always say انه it's important skill to learn. لازم اصلا في كل ال questions تحاول تدور قبل ما تكمل if there's a relationship ولا لا لانه most of the time even though هي ليها rule it could be solved easily بس ال relationship دي هتخلي الموضوع اسرع او انجز او كده ف look for it anyway if possible. Anyway عشان ما اطولش عليكم اكتر let's work on this one. I'll find the question تاني ده واوريه لكم المره اللي جايه. This one بقى هو بيقول لي ال G هنا ب 2 so this is the G which means now in the 2 points بقوا T squared and H. That's the first one. The second one is T and 2H. They say which of the following represents the equation of the line and when you look at all the choices كلهم فيهم y جنبهم حاجة y minus حاجة y plus حاجة and so on. So افتكر الأول أو لازم الأول remind you of the forms of the equation of the linear equation. في اللي هي y equals mx plus b اللي اسمها slope intercept اللي الواي فيها في ناحية لوحدها بس لما بيكون الاكس والواي في نفس الناحية this is what we call standard form. في بقى فورم تالتة اللي هي فيها y جنبها رقم y minus y1 equals m bracket x minus x1. الفورم التالتة دي is called point slope form. It's called point slope because it has a point and the slope. m is supposed to be the slope while ال x1 وال y1 هم دول البوينت بس بعكس الساين. So we can pick any point على اللاين نحط الاكس والواي بتوعهم في الاماكن دول بس بعكس الساين. So when you look على الchoices وتلاقيهم كلهم فيهم y جنبهم حاجة, you know for a fact in it must be this equation. So I will try to use this form no matter ايه. وليه الموضوع ده بيفرق؟ Because if you know that you're going to use this form, you're going to think, what do I need to fill in الform دي? I need a slope and a point. So let's get the slope. In order to get the slope, if you have points, then you do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This is how we get the slope. So y2 is 2h minus x1, which is h, over x2, which is t, minus x1 اللي هي t squared. I would suggest though, because لما جيت بصيت على الchoices كلهم لقيت تحت دايما t squared الأول هي اللي minus t. So I would suggest that you use the opposite lines, يعني switch them, خليها ال h هي اللي minus 2h over ال t squared هي اللي minus t. Now that's the slope. Any problems in how to figure out the slope so far? Okay, so عندي ال slope. What else do I need? We said we need a point. So when you look at the choices برضو, you can figure out or you can see clearly إن ال y جنبها 2h على طول. 2h دي اللي هي أنهي point؟ اللي هي البوينت التانية. So I'll use ال x دي وال y دي to substitute. المفروض يبقى y minus ال y اللي عندي, which is 2h بعكس الساين, equals ال slope اللي هو h minus 2h over t squared minus t multiplied by x minus ال x اللي عندي اللي هي t. في حد مش فاهم ازاي جبت الايكويشن دي؟ This is again following الفورمولا بتاعت y minus y1 equals m, هو ده الm كله على بعضه كده, bracket x minus x1. طيب when you look at the choices, أول حاجة you'll realize إن d cannot be true. So it's either A, B or C عشان فيهم هم دول اللي فيهم y minus 2h. تاني حاجة when you look على البراكت اللي فيه x minus t هيخلي لك إن choice C كمان will be excluded لأنه دي فيها x plus t. So it's either now A or B. ايه الفرق ما بين A و B؟ It's this one here. negative h ولا positive h؟ هي فين negative h و positive h؟ دي جت من دي. h minus 2h بكام؟ بنيجاتيف h. So it's negative h over t squared minus t multiplied by x minus t. So it's definitely A. Does this make sense ولا لا؟
Yes. أنت لما عملتها في بتاع إيه وطلعت لي غلط.
ايه ده؟ لا.
طلعت لي B.
ليه؟ لا. t squared h minus 2h 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 صح. لا. ايه صح. sorry. It's the mistake. في اي questions يا جماعة؟ اصل ليه probably ليه الناس ليه كان في يعني this is not I did not actually solve it. I asked someone to solve it بسرعة عشان يعمله. فالchoices are not 100% true. I think the mistake that he did is mainly because you look at the line and you see it as a positive slope. يعني من الشمال لليمين هو طالع لفوق. So they thought إن الساين اللي هنا دي على طول represents whether هو positive or negative, but that's not true. محدش قال لي ال H دي نفسها positive ولا negative. ممكن تكون ال H نفسها negative. So negative will make it positive. So اللي أقصده إنه it's not just by the sign, it's but by what we calculated. وإحنا we could tell here من الكالكوليشن إن غصب عني عشان تحت يبقى عندي t squared minus t. يعني أنا ابتديت من البوينت دي فهعمل h هي اللي minus 2h والأنسر لازم تكون negative h غصب عني. فاهمة؟
Yes.
اوكي. نمبر 4 بقى. So قبل ما نحل 4 لازم نفهم بس كونسبت كده بيسك على الجنب. انا لو عندي حاجات فيها روتس let's say x plus 3 مثلا plus root 2x minus 1 two roots plus بعض. The only there's a way to solve this is by multiplying this by the conjugate somehow. يعني ايه؟ يعني we deal at those as if ان هما two different أو two main things. I'll multiply ده نفسه x plus 3 و plus root 2x minus 1 في bracket كده كلها times نفس الروتس تاني بنفس الساينز تاني بس الميدل ساين هي اللي مختلفة. Again, does this make sense اللي أنا عملته إيه؟ I took ال two circles هم زي ما هم هنا وهنا وهنا وهنا. The only difference إن بدل البلس عملتها كمان multiplied by itself بس minus. Does this make sense ولا إيه؟ على فكرة لازم تردوا عليها في step by step دي عشان دي طويلة شوية. أوكي. طيب. Now ليه بعمل كده؟ عشان أقلبها تبقى كأنها difference of two squares. يعني ايه difference of two squares؟ Because when you look at the two brackets كده بقوا كأنهم two big brackets جواهم نفس الحاجات بالظبط بس واحد plus والتاني minus. ده بالظبط شبه ال difference of two squares. ازاي بنفك ال difference of two squares؟ بنعمل الأولاني ده power 2 فهيتبقى لي x plus 3. بعدين نعمل التاني to the power of 2 فيتبقى لي 2x minus 1. بعدين نعمل minus على طول في النص. الماينس دي بعد كده will be distributed فيتبقى لي x plus 3 minus 2x plus 1. بعدين like terms together ف x minus 2x تبقى negative x و 3 plus 1 تبقى 4. So this is it. Does this make sense ليكو ولا مش قوي؟
Yes.
طيب we need to do the same thing هنا. لا wait. ماشي. ماشي. لا استنى انا بجرب حاجة. اوكي. Of two perpendicular lines with slopes m1 and m2 are a. So what we know about perpendicular lines is that there is something called negative reciprocals. أصلا كلمة reciprocal معناها the flip of something. So x, the reciprocal of it is 1 over x. The reciprocal of a number هو الحاجة أو النمبر اللي أعمله times it والأنسر تطلع 1. That's the purpose of the reciprocal. لو عندي مثلا 2 over 3 when I multiply 2 over 3 by its reciprocal the answer is 1 no matter what. Anything in the world multiplied by its reciprocal becomes 1. So when we say negative reciprocal, it means no, when they get multiplied, the answer becomes negative 1. So any two perpendicular lines in the world, assume مثلا واحد before, the perpendicular would be negative 1 over 4. If you multiplied those, the answer must be negative 1, no matter A. So that's the characteristics of the perpendicular lines, is that any two perpendicular lines, if you multiplied their slopes, the answer must be negative 1. So A must be the correct answer على طول. Is this okay ولا في أي مشكلة؟
Okay.
طيب نمبر بقى 4.